Hello everyone, it's Silvia. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to discuss if tarot can be considered art. Let's see. So yesterday I had to queue for over 2 hours at the Australian equivalent of the DMV, so I had to get my license renewed and I was waiting with a lady that was really chatty next to me, and I love to chat as well, you know that, and so we started talking and I found out that she works for H&R Block. Now, H&R Block is a company of tax accountants that have been recognized by the Australian government for you to be able to file your tax return with them. And they're active in other countries, so maybe you're familiar with the company. So I was very curious, and I go to a different branch, but I do go to this company for my tax return. And I was very curious, and I was like, oh, you know what? I have to ask you a question for a friend. And obviously it's always for a friend. And so I started to say, no, this friend of mine, so she's got quite a sizable collection of tarot and oracle decks. And I don't know the value, but you know, she thinks that it's rather valuable. And so she's always wondering whether, you know, she needs to, whenever she sells it, if she sells a couple of those decks, does she need to declare them? How do they figure, you know, when it comes to value? And so that spurred a conversation, and basically, as I suspected, it's not necessarily the object that determines whether something is considered a luxury item or not, is the value. And so she didn't give me a precise answer, and I wasn't expecting her to do so. So when I got back home, I actually did a bit of research of my own. And so because after 2 hours waiting at the DMV, I wasn't miserable enough, I decided to call an insurance company. So obviously insurance companies are driven by profits like any other company. So obviously they didn't say no. They said, of course we can sell you an insurance, or rather to your friend, you know, for your friend's tarot and oracle collection. Of course we can sell insurance. But, you know, when we got to the nitty-gritty stuff, they did admit that it is an item that is rather, let's say, it's not easy to give it a proper estimate. And so he said, well, we need to send someone over, or this friend of yours will need to send over some photos, and we need to assess. And obviously they were also asking my own estimate of the collection and offering, you know, some advice. I would say that generally speaking, that wasn't a very fruitful experience, because my intention was to verify whether from a legal point of view, so hence, you know, the taxation point of view or the insurance point of view, we can consider tarot as a collectible item. So when you have a collection of almost 600 decks like I have, is that something that I need to think about, as in to defend, you know, to get an estimate, to insure, to make sure, do I need to treat it like art? And that would have made a difference. Had I received more proper answers or certain answers, that would have made a strong argument for me. That even from a legal point of view, you can treat your tarot decks as art. I have absolutely no problem in affirming that I see my tarot decks as art. Of course, it's art. But I would like this video to be an opportunity for me to show you, first of all, some of my favorite artists that created tarot decks. And at the same time, I would like to give you the microphone. I would like to give you the possibility to express your own opinion in the comments below. Please be mindful of others, keep it civil. We are a community of adults, and you know, it's very nice to hear everyone else's opinion, just as long as there's nothing offensive, because I really don't think that being offensive, being a bully, I really don't think that it helps the conversation. And my point of view today is from someone who's been collecting. So yes, I'm using the verb collecting, and not as in gathering, not as in amassing one after the other, but picking and choosing and keeping. So I've been collecting tarot and oracle decks for over 37 whatever years now, and obviously that tells a story to people, to you, my subscribers, my listeners, because it tells that I obviously like them. And when you love something and you collect it, then of course it supplies you with those same feelings that you feel when you look at art. So I think that there's a number of things that will give us the possibility to have an interesting conversation. So let's start with an unboxing because I have received this deck yesterday afternoon and I couldn't wait to just open it up. But I also like to share my first impressions with you guys. And I know that I should probably show you in a video in which we're discussing about art and whether tarot is art, we should probably see decks that everyone knows already. The trick is that I actually know this deck quite well. At least I know the majors of this deck, and I'm talking about the Mindscapes Tarot by John A. Rice. Now let me just zoom in because obviously we want to see the cards. So the reason why I know this deck already is because this deck actually, this is not the very first way in which this deck has seen the light. The very first one was as an indie deck a few years ago, and I remember that it could have been a Kickstarter campaign. Honestly, I don't remember. What I do remember is that I noticed this deck because of the art, because of the artistic effort, the monumental artistic effort that goes behind making these cards. And originally it was a majors only deck. Let me just open it in the meantime as I talk. And then it came also with an amazing, let's say, coffee table style kind of book. And the only reason why I never hit the buy button was because it was not affordable for me originally, obviously. And I think that the original deck was also printed on art paper. You know, the product value originally was quite expensive, quite costly to begin with. And obviously when you receive an amazing book of art, you also need to, you know, take that into account when you look at the price tag. But all in all, I don't think that it was priced too high. It's just that it was too expensive for me. I couldn't afford it. And but I was always looking at this deck. I was always looking at it. And I remember I had a tarot play date with a friend of mine, and she actually had it. And so I had a look. I asked her to bring this deck out of, I don't know, 400 or 500 that she had in her collection. And I was really in awe of the cards. I really, really loved everything, every single emotion that was reflected by the cards. Every single thing that I was feeling when looking at the cards. I was thinking, this is what I feel in front of a beautiful piece of art. That is exactly the same way in which I was relating and reacting to a piece of art, a painting, a sculpture. So obviously, this was already with a feeling that started that way. So I already knew what I was looking at. But this is something that happened to me, and it happened to me not with all of my decks, but with many of my decks. And so, you know, I really do believe that we can make that distinction. And I think that not all of my decks, no, it's impossible that out of 600 decks, all of them are considered piece of art, artworks. But at the same time, I do believe that I do feel in a certain way in front of a deck when I really, really love it. So it doesn't come, unfortunately, with the original coffee table style kind of book, art book, let's say, which is a pity, but it's also a mass market deck. This has been picked up by Hay House. It has been reprinted. It has been released, I believe, a month ago or so. And it was an amazing experience because I actually got in touch. So John got in touch with me, contacted me via Instagram and said, look, I love your videos and I want to send you a deck for you to appraise, to review. And I was absolutely stoked because obviously I wanted this deck and I really wanted to see it and I wanted to have it in my own hands. And I also like Hay House, so it would have been in my wish list anyway. And as I said, it doesn't come with the big book, which is a pity. But then again, honestly, I don't think that you could achieve you could tick all of the boxes when you do have a mass market production, when you have an art book, because it would bring the price up. And that's not what you want. You want to keep a deck that is being sold in a mass market scale with an affordable price tag, because otherwise it defies the purpose of being released mass market. If you make it unaffordable or affordable only to a certain percentage of people, then it's on mass market. So obviously they have to, bring it back to all of the features of a normal deck, mass market deck, which is absolutely fine. So this is the book that we've got here. So it's 80 cards. So obviously they also move from a majors only to an 80 cards deck. And what will be interesting, because the tarot community, I know that we're always sneaky, but we're always making comments on when we move from a majors only into a full tarot deck. We want to see the minors because we're kind of worried about the minors. And I'll have to thank Insight Editions for that, because there's been so many fandom decks that present you with fantastic majors, and then you go to the minors and they're all really lazy pips. And that's not what we like. So it's going to be really interesting to check out the minors as well. So the minors have been renamed into branches for wands and fire, tides for cups and water, spires for swords and air, and stones for earth and pentacles. Then we got imagery and symbols, reading the cards, spreads, so there's also a few custom spreads if you want to try them out, conclusions, acknowledgements, and about the artist. So obviously, there you go. The stay-at-home order came on March 13, 2020. I do remember that it was motivated, John was motivated by the lockdown as well. I don't remember specifically when the first deck came out. It might have been 2021 or something like that. And I like that here, actually, he explains how some of the card came to him as inspiration, because inspiration is something that is very common to art. Every artist needs inspiration. Even any kind of, when you produce art, even if you're a writer, so not just visual art, or you're a director, for example, you need inspiration. So talking about the muse, for example. When I finally launched the crowdfunding campaign, so it was a crowdfunding campaign, maybe not Kickstarter, it could have been an Indiegogo, I don't remember. It was in February 2022. Okay, so it took about, let's say, almost 2 years. And okay, so it goes on explaining that then Hay House, was contacting John, and they were enthusiastic about the Manscape's journey, etc. So obviously, it's very interesting to hear how a deck comes about. But I'm going to speed this up a little bit. So there's also a bit of I thought that, well, in my very limited knowledge of art, I do have a lot of experience with art because I love museums, and obviously I like to know as much as possible about a painting, for example, when I go see one. So this deck does give me impressionistic vibes, but I never want to say it out loud just in case I'm completely wrong, because I'm not an expert. But it does say here, despite the romantic style, the feel of the images is rather impressionistic, visible, energetic strokes and vivid colors. Color is of utmost importance here. No color is used without consideration of its meaning and associations, and this is very important for us. When you're a tarot reader, symbols of everything. So red, for example, gives life, power and energy. Yellow sparks consciousness, illumination and the mind. Orange inspires creativity and sexuality. Green signifies nature and growth. Blue symbolizes truth and devotion. purple, and so on. So we've got these notes about the symbols I am really curious about reading. Today is not a deep dive in the deck, it's just that I really want to show you these 10 decks that, to me, they really help the argument that tarot is art. And not about sigils, of course, and then reading the cards. And then we start with the major arcanas. Sorry, it's explaining just the renaming. Then we do have a few spreads here. If you want to try them out, I always do. And then we start with the major arcana. So what do we get as information when it comes to the majors? We got the keywords, we got the planet and the zodiac sign, we got the element and the symbols, and the sigil. And then a little bit of a description I see here of the card and what happens in the card. And then there's something called action here, which I see there's a question. For example, for the full card, we've got what is one skill or hobby you've always wanted to learn? It can be anything from painting to playing an instrument to coding to gardening. Take this opportunity to sign up for a class, workshop or online course to begin your journey. So I'm taking this as maybe a meditation prompt, or when you do get an activity or when you do some kind of rituals, and tarot and oracle can actually give you a task to complete, or also for journaling or meditating. So when it comes to the minors though, let's just pick a minor at random, the Four of Tides, so the Four of Water. We still have keywords, we still have the planet and zodiac association, we still have the element and the symbols, and I believe we got the same amount of information that we have for the major arcanas. And then there's clear journal prompts. These questions I currently have about, no, 3 questions, sorry. I currently have about my path forward are... ... So you do have journal prompts here, which makes it really interesting and always something that I like to do. I like to take notes and I like to journal whenever I'm studying a deck. But without much further ado, because I really want this experience to be visual today, we're going to have a look at the cards. And by the way, I love the fact that there's another image at the bottom of the box. So it's always really nice to see additional images that do not necessarily pertain to the cards, or maybe it is one of the cards. And let's move the belly band. Obviously we got these. I believe the backs are similar, if not the same backs as the indie edition. I'm not entirely sure. Obviously the cards could be different, but we know why that is. And please mind you, today I am not discussing the card stock because, well, it's a bit tricky, but I don't believe that the cardstock should influence your idea on why and if the art in the card is artwork. Because the cardstock is a choice that sometimes authors don't really, or artists don't really have much saying into, especially if it's a mass market deck. Sometimes it is what the publisher, I guess most of the times, it is what the publisher decides, so that shouldn't count in the discussion. Okay, I can see already that the borders are in different colors, which I really like. I wonder whether they are in different colors depending on the suit. And it looks like they are, which will help me determine which suit we're looking at, which is always welcome. Matte cardstock, but and again, I'm not going to say anything else about the cardstock. Sorry, it's just me coming up with the usual stuff that I tell you, but I don't want it to be about cardstock. The discussion today has got nothing to do with cardstock. So we got the Fool, we got the Magician. I love this Magician card. Isn't it just absolutely fantastic? And yes, I do recognize the impressionistic vibes. The High Priestess. This one reminds me of the Night Circus. The Empress. And maybe it is, I haven't read the book. So I feel like many of you will go, well, duh, of course it's the Night Circus. Or maybe it's completely off as a reference. I haven't read the guidebook and I will, but it's just that today, the reason why I'm showing you this deck is because I want to focus on the art, on the images. So the Emperor, Wall of China for me, the Hierophant. This looks like a Native American ceremony. The Lovers. I was rewatching X-Files the other day because I love it. Of course I do. And Mulder, when he dies the first time, it goes through the ritual with Native American Indians from New Mexico, and it stays in a lodge, like not a lodge, but you know, a teepee, just like that. So the chariot, really nice. With the pyramids, oh, we're in Egypt, and that's a felucca. I've done that. I've been there, done that. It was so hot and humid. The strength card, that looks like Montana. Sorry, I cannot help it. It's me. I'll try and shut up now. Sorry about that. The Hermit, really beautiful. And of course, that had to be a spider full of the Wheel of Fortune, because of course, you know, the spider web is the symbol of the interchanging vibes and energies throughout the year. So I get it. Justice with ancient Greece, I believe. That might be Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. And the Northern Lights, of course. I love that. You guys know me. Northern Lights in my heart all the time. I've seen them 3 or 4 times in Arctic Norway, Finnmark and Iceland. I want to go to Canada, Arctic Canada, and see them there. And this has got a polar bear. I haven't seen polar bear, unfortunately, not yet. Maybe this is the Svalbard, could be. Or, you know, Arctic Canada. Death with a cannon. Temperance with, I believe this is a volcano and lava that goes into the sea. The Devil, well, I love this. This to me looks like any city. Now my glass, I need to change prescription. But I would like, if this were my screen on my phone, I would definitely zoom in, because I would want to see whether this is Chinese characters or not. This looks like the particle no in Japanese, but I could be completely wrong. But in any case, this to me speaks of any city in the world after dusk, after it's been raining, with all the neon lights and the car lights and everything that reflect on the wet surface. Love this card, really. I know it's the devil, but I love it, and I understand it. I love the association with the temptation. The city is the devil, absolutely. I believe John may live in New York. I'm not entirely sure, but this could be New York. And then the tower, of course. The star card, which is also on the box here. Which I really like, and you guys know me, the star card is my favorite card, with a shooting star, of course, and the moon, the sun, judgment, which looks like a cemetery in New Orleans that I visited, and Machu Picchu. No, it's not Machu Picchu, sorry, it's probably Greece, Mont Parnassus with the world card, but I thought it was Machu Picchu because it looks like when you look down at it after you climb. And so we've got additional majors here. So we got the catacomb here, like in Rome and in Paris, the great work, really beautiful with these snow-capped mountains. And then we're going into the minors. So what I understand about the minors, this, you know what, I don't want to say anything before I actually read the guidebook in this case, so I'll be right back. Okay, so let me just read it out loud to you, because I don't think that when I'm summarizing what I'm reading, I don't think that I could be as specific, or I don't think I could explain as well as it's done here. So while the major arcana represent significant milestones in our lives, the minor arcana mark the subtler shifts in our states of being. The first 10 cards of each suit show a single landscape weathering change over time, just as our truest eternal selves remain constant despite the flux of daily circumstances. I love that. I love that similitude. You know, it's the same. The weather changes, but the landscape is the place, the locum is the same. At the deepest level, you at age 5 are the same you at age 15, 35 and 35. It's everything else around you that changes. Following the first 10 cards in each suit are 4 core cards which depict dwellings that exist in these various landscapes. That's interesting. They call to mind the unique characters inhabiting these strange places and represent the different personas you might know, meet or become throughout the course of your life. That sounds amazing, because that is very tarot-like, because obviously I look at the core cards as archetypes of people that we may meet in our lives. To reinforce the concept of the self as a landscape, I have renamed the 4 suits branches, tides, spires and stones. These names draw parallels with traditional suits while infusing each with unique symbolism related to the elemental forces of nature. In this way, Mindscapes weaves together the traditional language of tarot with a fresh perspective, inviting you to explore the multifaceted terrain of your inner self. Okay, now I understand. So it's the same place, but weathering the change of the seasons, weathering all the changes that we go through life. And it's the parallel with ourselves, that our inner core remains the same. I'm not entirely 100% with John with this. I do know and see myself as changing, or even my deeper core, but I do understand what John means with that. So I'm the same Silvia, probably I'm the same Silvia that I was at 5, 25, 45. I do see that. So I'm curious to see how I pull that off in the cards, because that would be a really interesting exercise. So keeping this in mind, let's have a look at the minors. I'm not going to show all the minors because I've been talking a lot about this deck already, and we got another 9 decks to go through. 4 branches, 6 branches, 7 of branches. Okay, fair enough. I do see the differences here. And it's all branches. So, and let's have a look at the core card. So, Page of Branches, Knight of Branches. So in here you build your tree house. You build your fire in your tent. At the Queen of Branches, you're already cultivating something. And the Knight of Branches, you have a farm. I get it. I see the evolution. I get it. I like it. I like it. So let's look at the tides, obviously. So these changes is the sea. So tides is the sea, but it shows you different protagonists of the scene, because we had dolphins earlier. We have a single person here. We have a couple of people sailing here. So we have a storm here. We have a tall ship here. We have birds and a rainbow here, and I like that many of these symbols can still be seen, the traditional symbols. So obviously there's a rainbow and 10 birds in a formation in the 10 of tides, because it's the 10 of cups. And then we got the page, the knight, which is, you know, implying movement. I like that. The queen, stability, but also the light, which is nurturing. So the lighthouse is nurturing because it symbolizes the light that brings back home. And the King of Tides, which is obviously building monuments. I like that. I like the finality of the King of Tides. You know, there's a lot of stillness, but also it's a stillness that comes after movement in the King of Tides, like that. So Spires, which is the suit of swords, which is my favorite suit. Let's have a look. 3 of Spires. Love this card. Yes, it's not a pierced heart, it's a broken bridge. Yes, I love it. Oh, I love it. This is, you know, it's so worth it when there's an artist that paints, creates the 3 of swords, and they actually think about it instead of just picking the heart and putting 3 swords personally. I love this because a broken bridge is the overwhelm of the mind. There is something so very scientific. Maybe this is not the intention from the creator, but to me it resonates so much because of my studies in neuroscience, because obviously this is a broken synapses. It's a broken connection. It's a broken the process of your brain identifying an object, processing the use of the object, telling your hands to use it, blah, blah, blah. It's all connected, but this is a disconnection and it's a cognitive dissonance. Love it. And it's the 3 of swords. Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you. And then we got the 5 of spires, which is, you know, you're standing in front of giants. What can you do? That's the unfair advantage. The 6 of spires, you know, going through these, even though it is difficult, so fantastic. The 7 of spires, I will probably have to read about this because it's my decan of birth, so I want to read about the 7 of swords, of course. The 9 of spires, really beautiful, and the 10 of spires with the grayness. Love it. Page of spires in a hot air balloon, and the knight, I believe this might be a blimp, I could be wrong. the inside of a blimp or something like that, or maybe it could be an airplane, sorry, but why do I have to go blimp and not airplane? I don't know. And Queen of Spires and the King, of course, summiting, so conquering the summit. Yes. Two stones. Okay, we're looking at the suit of stones, really beautiful. I love that there's differences between day and night, because this looks like it's still building in construction, under construction, but this one has just started. Six of Stones, but it's also the Six of Pentacles, which means giving and receiving. So there is a sense of having already established something, but still needing to establish something more. And the Eight of Stones, doubling down in your hard work, and the Nine of Stones, the richness, the windfall that you get through, and the Ten of Stones, that is a bit curious, because I expected it to be even more rich, let's say, but it doesn't have to be necessarily. I feel like there might be a discovery here. It feels almost as if, because this is clearly a car, modern car, so it feels almost as if this person is actually looking for something, and in the middle of the night they actually find something, they discover something. So that brings me back to the idea of the Ten of Stones as something that resonates with a civilization that maybe has gone through the ages, and obviously at the end there's also the decline, because it's part of life, and so there is this discovery of this civilization. I don't know, I might be completely wrong. This is what it's inspiring. And the Page of Stones, Knight and Queen, and the King of Stones. Okay, so as you've seen, I am really loving this deck. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that I was sent this deck, because I had the possibility to have a look at it, and I really like it. And you know, talking about art, that was artistic to me. That is indeed, it qualifies as an artwork. But let me just show you, and now in a quicker way. Apologies for being so slow. So obviously I had to show you a deck by Anna Torian. Duh. So I could have chosen any of the other decks that she's illustrated, but I've chosen the Tarot of Echoes because I love it. I love all of them. So it wasn't that much of a stretch. So Anna, to me, look at the cards. Anna, to me, is an artist. There's no two ways around that. This is art. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of prints from her Bonestone and Earthflesh tarot. It's by Avalon Cameron, but Anna is the illustrator of the Bonestone and Earthflesh tarot. And I love the colors. I love the use of the media. She uses a mix of color pastels, pencils, and watercolor. I love the associations between the cards, let's say, and the meaning of the cards in tarot. So she obviously knows her tarot decks. Really love the way in which she is bringing the subjects into life, into daily life. It's almost as if she were building a bridge that goes from the card into the outside world in front of me. And many artists, I like to say that they draw me into the painting. I feel that Anna is doing the opposite. Anna is bringing the painting into life, into the scene, to the room with me. Let's put it this way. So I absolutely love this, and I really do believe that there should be absolutely no doubt as to whether these images are paintings or not. I'm not talking about the fact that there might be actual paintings of these images, apart from the fact that there are prints. I know for a fact, not all of them, but Anna does have an online shop, and she does sell some of these prints if you want to buy them. But I'm talking about the intention. I'm talking about the manifestation that lies behind the creation of these cards, of course. So that would, I didn't spend too much time, because to me there's absolutely no doubt that Anna's work is artistic. Then what I wanted to talk about, well, I have all the other decks, but let me just talk about Andrea Aste. So Andrea Aste is an artist. So he's an artist that's decided to that is enamored with tarot, but he also created Lenormand decks, by the way, the Ghastly Lenormand. I don't know, because at the time of filming, I don't know whether he's won the Carta Awards. I know that he's a finalist, so fingers crossed. So Andrea and I have been collaborating for a couple of months already, and I have some very exciting news, but I know that this has only been released at the TABI, so the Tarot Conference in Manchester, a couple of days ago. And I know that Janine Worthington has also talked about it or shown a photo of a presentation Andrea has given during this conference at the TABI, and she posted a photo in her Instagram account. And so I know that if you do follow her, you will know that there's something that is called the Discombobulator that is going to come soon. Now, if you do log into the discombobulator.co.uk, you can actually sign up for the newsletter, and you will receive news as to when this will be released. And it's a magazine. It's a fantastic magazine that talks about magic as the science of the imagination. And I am one of the persons who contributed to the issue number 1. There will be an article written by me, so I am so very excited. It will take a few months though before it actually sees the light of day, but because it has already been announced at TABI, I checked this out with Andrea, and he said, yes, you can talk about it in your video when I'm presenting his deck. And so I'm so very excited to say that yours truly has also been published, or is in the process of being published in a magazine. So really, really excited about that. So the Book of Shadows, an Alchemist story. Now, the reason why this to me is without the shadow of a doubt an artistic product is because it's not just incredibly beautiful, but this is subjective. Of course, you may like or not the product. You may feel that it resonates with you or not. It is very subjective, and each and every one of us has the right to see ourselves as appreciating or not a piece of art. But this to me, for the effort that goes behind creating these cards, choosing the line, choosing the color, choosing the juxtaposition of the saturation, choosing every single element that you see in these cards, and at the same time doing it so that it actually reflects the meaning of a tarot deck as as the RWS is. This is art. This is absolutely art. And let me just show you something else, because I really believe that, it goes without saying that when together with a deck, and this is still for sale in Andrea's website, and it was originally a Kickstarter campaign. So when you backed the Kickstarter campaign, I think that you can still also buy the book. You would have received the Book of Shadows, an Alchemist story, where Andrea, together with John Matthews, Sasha Graham, and Rana George, so really important and well-known names of the tarot world. So Andrea basically is pursuing his story about finding a manuscript, that reminds us and talks about the origin of tarot. And it's an alchemist that actually finds this in London, in a burned down building. So there is all this story that is behind it, that it's a storytelling book, and it's a storytelling adventure. And I really like the idea that these media have all been combined. There's also a movie that you can watch about this story, about finding this manuscript that talks about tarot. And obviously here Andrea shows that he gets in touch with Sasha, he has an idea, etc, etc. And so I find it absolutely incredible, the monumental effort that goes behind having the idea, creating it, and then putting it into practice, actually releasing something like this, creating the Kickstarter campaign and going through with it, and printing everything and sending everything out in the world. That is absolutely amazing. And then the final product is this, and it's just absolutely amazing. These are my favorite colors, by the way, but I know that it's a coincidence. And again, I don't necessarily want to say I love this, and because I love it, I think it's art. It needs to be a very unbiased kind of opinion in order to be valid, let's say. I am telling you that because of the effort, because of the media involved, because of, let's say, also the collaboration with other famous names in the tarot world, this is clearly a work of art. Sorry, I should have zoomed back in. My apologies. But so this is without a doubt, look at the Five of Coins, just absolutely perfect. And by the way, let me just say, it is very cohesive. So this is, all of the characters look like they belong to a same village, for example. They have the same kind of quirks and whimsical, let's say, appearance. So I really, really love this. And honestly, I love every single deck that Andrea has released, but I just wanted to show you this one because I wanted to show you how artistic can a tarot be. Moving on to the next one. So because I wanted to stay in the same region, so Andrea is Italian like me, I also want to show you a tarot deck by another Italian. This one is actually a maestro. So we're not just talking about an artist, we're talking about a recognized maestro. So I'm talking about Osvaldo Menegazzi from Milano. Osvaldo Menegazzi unfortunately passed away. He was an artist, really well known, and he's also, let's say, the inspiration behind the Il Meneghello, which is the publishing house that is publishing his decks and also decks by other local artists and or Italian artists, not local as in from Milano. And I just wanted to show you this one. This is the Okusai tarot, and it's majors only like the majority of Meneghello decks, and it comes in this really beautiful box and it's printed on art paper. So okay, sorry that I'm mentioning the cardstock, but I could not mention it. So this is obviously a work of art. It even comes with a caveat. It says here, please understand that this item is created by hand. Any imperfections or variations are due to its workmanship and are not to be considered as defects or flaws. So obviously, you know, it comes with a kind of a warning saying it's really, everything is made by hand. So if you buy two decks of the same, two copies of the same decks, they will not look the same. So this is the Okusai. I love that we're talking about something that is already artistic, because Okusai is one of my favorite ukiyo-e painters, Japanese painter. I have just been to Japan, so obviously I had the opportunity, and I was so incredibly lucky because one day I was in Fukuoka and I went to an art expo and we saw, and it wasn't advertised at all, and so we got in and we saw the original ukiyo-e of the tsunami, so the big wave, which is one of the most not well known, and it's also here on this card. So this is the, let's say, inspired by the tsunami by Hokusai. So we saw the original. That was blowing my mind. In any case, really, really beautiful, very Japanese. Obviously, you see all this in these cards. I believe that it is very difficult to have the opinion that this is not a work of art. I honestly don't see any way in which someone can defend that opinion. I think that the majority of us, you know, would agree that this is definitely art. I mean, look at this. And it's also obviously because it is painted by hand. You know, each and every card has been done in a certain way. And look at this is the full card, by the way. Look at how beautiful this is. I just absolutely love it. So this is another deck that it really came to mind when I was thinking, okay, what's a deck that really would probably everyone will agree with that is a work of art? And that was one. Just to remain again in Italy, another Italian, to me, so this is a graphic illustrator, but to me is an artist, okay? And everything he's done and he's doing is an art. You may disagree with me, but this is my opinion, and this is the Joker Tarot by Corrado Roy. Corrado Roy, if you have watched my channel for any length of time, you would have heard me talk about Corrado many times. because he's the one behind also the Murder of Crows tarot, but I knew Corrado for a long time because he's one of the illustrators of one of my favorite comic books of all times, which is Dylan Dog, which is released by Bonelli Editore in Milano. And so you may not be familiar with Dylan Dog, even though they did have a Dylan Dog movie in English with Rupert Everett. And so I believe that if you watch the movie, you will know. But Dylan Dog is like Dean and Sam Winchester from Supernatural. So he's an investigator of the occult. And I was reading Dylan Dog. So they started publishing it in 1988. And I was reading it after that, obviously. And it's also because it was very gruesome. Like a horror comic book, and I started reading it when I was in high school, and I remember that I got so much into it, thanks also to the art of Corrado Roy in the illustrations. I got so much into it that I remember I was making it a point not to read it before a test, like a math test or a Latin test, because I knew that I would not done well in the test, because these stories that I was reading, they really stayed with me for a while. And so I would like to point out, if you do have the Murder of Crows, you will recognize the art style. I would like to point out that this one is the one that was released together with the Kickstarter campaign, but it is available now as mass market from Lo Scarabeo, and I believe that probably these days, I don't remember correctly, exactly, there will be a mini version of this deck that is also being published by Lo Scarabeo. So if you like minis like I do, you probably want to keep an eye out for this one. Obviously, it is incredibly dark. Yes, there's no two ways around that. But this is just a vibe of the deck. And, there's some really, really triggering paintings, like I'm thinking about The Scream by Edvard Munch, or however it is pronounced. My apologies if that is not correct. That painting is incredibly triggering for me. It's very intense. So is it not art just because it's intense or triggering? No, it's still art. And this to me is still art. It's very dark, very horror adjacent, I would say. Still art. Still, though, very relatable to tarot. I mean, look at the Four of Pentacles, for example. It is very intense, but very, very easy to recognize. The wanting to keep everything close to your chest, close to yourself, and not being in a state of anxiety because you don't want to lose anything. And as soon as maybe you drop one coin and you panic because you drop one coin. Absolutely adore this deck, and to me that is another example of how a tarot deck can definitely be seen as a work of art. And now moving on, so I've done the 3 Italians that I wanted to talk about, and now I want to move on with someone that is not Italian but has an Italian name, Nicolas Bruno, and I want to talk about photography as a form of art. You will never convince me that it's not, simply because I have worked as a producer. I have worked as a producer for a TV show that aired here in Australia about photography. So I've been in touch with many photographers around Australia, some of them really famous ones. For example, there was this guy that we interviewed that was the director of photography for Mel Gibson movies. So obviously, we're talking about big names as well. And let me tell you, every time that we were starting the conversation, is photography a form of art? I would get very passionate and also kind of upset if someone disagreed with me, because having worked as a photographer, I can assure you 100%. There is a monumental effort behind the creation of these images, and this is a form of art. And yes, I understand that it's not the same type of art as holding a brush. I get it. But you hold the camera, guess what? And so what does that mean? Because if you're a sculptor, you're also not holding a brush. You're holding a scalpel, I guess. I don't know what it's called, a chisel. So obviously that is not the same, and art doesn't always have to be something that is painted. You have digital art as well, and it's just as beautiful and just as worthy to be deemed art as anything else that has been painted on canvas. So I'm gonna show you that I think, well, I actually read about the creative process behind these photos because I backed Nicolas's latest Kickstarter, which is about a redoing of the Somnia Tarot, but also the Somnia Oracle, and I cannot wait. It's been on from the Kickstarter funded, and I cannot wait to see the decks because I'm really excited about them. And you know, and it was also showing there were clips on how it was setting up the scene. It's not easy. It's, you have to work with a crew, you have to work with available light, which is not easy. Available light is any form of non-artificial light, so obviously you can't control it. You can't control the sun, you can't control the clouds and everything. Everything has to be shot in a very specific time frame because this is the golden hour, and so not this one but these ones, for example, and that's very short, and I can assure you it just, you have to be very quick and everything has to be ready. So I promise you 100%, yes, photography can be artistic. I'm not saying that every single photograph is a work of art, but I am saying that art is expressing itself through photography as well. So we're going quickly through the last 4 decks. This one I've shown you already because this is the object of the giveaway that I'm doing, hitting the 5,000 subscribers. And let me just say, it's been a bit embarrassing because what happened was that I did hit the 5,000 subscribers, and then, as it always happens, you do have YouTube doing a bit of a cleaning, spring cleaning. And whenever there's a an account that is not really active, they unsubscribe you. So if I have a subscriber whose account is not active, they unsubscribe that person because they think that it might be a bot, or they think that this person is not, you know, the owner of the account anymore, what have you. So, you know, I was at 5,002 and then I dropped to 4,999, 4,997, and then went back up to 5,005 and then back down. So it's been, and it's normal. If you have a YouTube channel, you will know that this is completely normal. Overnight, in my case, because I live in Australia, but over the day, if you live in the US, you may gain 30 subscribers in a day and lose 12. It's just, it just happens all the time. It's just that it was very frustrating for me because I was like, yay, 5,000. No. 4,999. Yay, 5,000. Oh, no. So it's really, it's been like I'm at the edge of my seat. That's when I could finally be able to say, yes, I hit 5,000 subscribers. In any case, you know, the giveaway is still valid and you can still enter. And this is the deck that I'm going to give to the lucky winner. And this is the Brady Tarot by Amy Brady. And this is art because this is actually, remember I was talking about ukiyo-e as an art form, and ukiyo-e is basically wood block printing. So that's what Amy has done. She has chiseled the scene on a wood block, and then she's used the ukiyo-e method, which is wood block printing method. I don't know why I keep referring to it with the Japanese name. Maybe because I spent 5 weeks in Japan. And you know, this is the result. So it's absolutely amazing. Again, monumental effort, very artistic, also recognized as an artistic method of artwork. Love the fact that the colors are so brilliant, by the way. And this is an incredibly powerful deck, very, very deep. I have the original edition with the white borders, which I actually prefer. Whenever there's 2 editions to a deck, I always prefer the one with the white borders. It goes the same with the darkness of light. I don't know why, don't ask me. I feel that it gives a certain brilliance to the colors, creating that kind of contrast, but this is still an amazing deck. And you know, and I always talk about the 10 arrows because it's the possum and play possum with finality, but I really like the attitude of the card, the tongue-in-cheek. So really, really stoked about this deck, and I will be sending it to the lucky winner of the giveaway. You know, and I'm still keeping my fingers crossed. I don't know, I may have hit again the 5,000 now. And you know, I was talking to another YouTube a YouTuber from WA, but she's into horror movies. She's got a huge channel, and she was saying, yeah, it happens to me as well. Sometimes I lose 700 subscribers overnight, and you lose them, you don't get them back, because most of the time they are bots. Sometimes bots, you know, do that because they subscribe to you because they want to post, oh, you should invest in this investment, and it happens. There's no two ways around that. And she's like, yeah, you lost how many? You lost 20, 30? Really? That's cute. I lost 700. So I was like, okay, wow, okay, fine. In any case, that's the giveaway, and let me talk about the next 3 decks. Staying in Japan, but yes and no. Okay, so Miyako M, so A, Miyako M, Miyako-san. Okay, can we say Miyako-san? She is the creator of the Botan Tarot. This is the 2nd edition. I just absolutely love this deck so much. And this to me, apart from the fact that you can probably tell, let me just see if I can put the card closer to the lens. I don't know if you can tell. You probably have to believe my word for it, because through the lens it doesn't show as much. But this, apart from the fact that it is a linen finish, so linen gives you the kind of texture that is very similar to canvas, but these were originally done on canvas. So the media is already pointing to artwork, but it's also, you know, the style, it's again the effort that goes behind this. And I love the fact that there's a sigil. It's not really a sigil, this is the signature of a Japanese artist. I have bought a few prints, and when there's a signature, they cost a fair bit more rather than when there isn't. And this is such an amazing deck. There's a zine that goes with it, but also, let's say, if you, I have the e-copy of this e-zine. I asked a friend of mine that lives in Europe, because the e-zine has sold out in, at least in Oceania and Asia, where I checked out. But there's still a German reseller that sells it, I believe, the physical copy. So I asked a friend of mine, and she bought it, she sent it, unfortunately got lost. It happens. But I do have the PDF, let's say, file of this e-zine. When you read the reasons behind the choices for these images on the cards and the relationship with the cards, you will understand how this is an amazing deck. Very, very impactful, very poignant as well. There's references to, well, this is a cool, by the way. We were talking about Spirited Away the other day. So the Kirin, the dragon, is the spirit of a river, and it's an incredibly powerful yokai and a sign of really good luck. We got Kitsune, of course. We got, you know, there's so many references to the Japan that I love in all of these cards. But one reference is, and also the Kintsugi, of course. One reference is to the watchtower. So during the Second World War, in some states of the US, there were prisoners of what Japanese prisoners. They kept Japanese prisoners, and the tower card is the reproduction of the watchtower. I'm trying to find it, but maybe I've already gone past it. Sorry about that. So it is the reproduction of one of the watchtowers of those concentration camps or those internment camps. They didn't call them concentration camps. Apologies for that. That is a really loaded term. But they did call them prisoners camps or internment camps. And yeah, so this is part of our stories, or the story of North America. And this is something that obviously has a very strong impact in the way in which I look at this deck, and also in the way in which I relate to the Tower card, because I completely see that. Really love this deck by Miyako-san. I really don't think that there's any doubt. I mean, look at the backs. I don't think there's any doubt in recognizing that this is a work of art. And then let's talk about another 2 decks that are really close to my heart. One is the Honasa House. I do have a lot of her decks. This one is in specific the jumbo version, which was the 6th version, 6th edition. It's the largest one. I believe that this one might even be bigger than the very first editions, which unfortunately I don't have. And I don't have the $650 that people are asking for it to acquire it. That's just too expensive. But this, I was so very lucky because I bought it out of a collector in Minnesota, and she sold it to me for a very reasonable price, so thank you. This is the Emperor card. By the way, the language, because I know that there's a perennial kind of debate, what language is this? No, it's not Spanish. No, it's not Portuguese. Yes, it is Gallego. So Galicia is a region in the north western part of Spain. I've been there, really beautiful by the way, but there's a lot of landscapes are very barren, very desert-like, very moon-like as well. Very beautiful area of Spain. And so this is the local language spoken in that area. Emperador, so the emperor, of course, and this to me is one of the most beautiful, harrowing, hauntingly beautiful emperor I've ever seen. It is an amazing card. I absolutely love it. It brings about a sense of being, in the depth of the sea. At the same time, it brings about a sense of time, sorry for the repetition, but it also brings about a sense of stillness. And the stillness is the stillness of the time that has passed. The civilization, remember we talked about the civilization for John A. Rice's deck. I believe that the civilization is a complete civilization, comes to the end of its cycle when it's forgotten. That's my idea, and you could be disagreeing with me, and that's absolutely fine. But this, to me, reminds me of that tall ship, let's say, that has been sinking down at the bottom of the sea, and this is one of the pirates, maybe the captain of the pirates, whatever, with all of its riches. It's a lot of Goonies vibes in this card as well, and it's just forever portrayed in this floating status, but it's a stillness, because there is floating because of the waves around it, but at the same time there is that sense of stillness that comes from the fact that it's a skeleton. Love this card, and it's not just because of my interpretation of the card, or it is not because of the interpretation of the card, that I do recognize all of this as art. This is art. To me, there's absolutely no two ways around that. No doubts, there should be no doubts about it. Obviously, throughout all of the different editions, Juanasa has chosen different color palettes, different formats, meant that she had to cut through into the images as well, or she has reduced the size of them. There's a few changes. I really love everything that she does. I have recently received the Stunning Tarot edition number 5, and it's probably my favorite one when it comes to my personal preference. This to me is just very clear a piece of art. It's an artwork, and it should be respected as such. It is really amazing, and the effort was also really massive in this, because doing all this, painting all this, and then producing the deck, writing the book. Mind you, there's I believe that for all of these decks, Honasa doesn't ship them out with a guidebook, but you can find a PDF file, I believe, in her website, but I could be wrong. It's just that there's so many different versions also of the Stunning Tarot that I honestly, I don't remember. I do believe that one is available in her website. And there's another deck that I want to show you today, and it's the last one. And this, again, to me, there's absolutely no doubt that we're talking about art, and we're talking about the Blood Moon Tarot, which, by the way, is coming up mass market in a couple of months. Now it's official, you can even pre-order it. And can I just say something? I subscribe to Sam Guai's newsletter. I have subscribed to their newsletter for years. And they were talking about the possibility to go mass market, but then it all went away, like they didn't mention it for a long time. And then all of a sudden I saw the listing on Amazon. I'm like, is this a fake? Because sometimes it could be non-legit. But no, it's the actual legit, super duper legit deck. And I believe it's going to be released by US Games, but I'm not entirely sure, I could be wrong. It's just that it seems like it's US Games sometimes that picks up edgy kind of artwork like this one. This to me is my Pan's Labyrinth kind of deck. It reminds me of that movie by Guillermo del Toro. It does have that oniric kind of stance, that trance-like vibes throughout all of the decks. And as a matter of fact, one of the suits is being renamed the Suit of the Suit of Dreams, sorry. There you go, you got the Ten of Dreams, for example. There's so much that I love about this deck. And so there is a coffee table style book that comes with this deck that you can purchase, I believe, in Sam's website on the side. It is rather pricey, but it justifiably so, because it is a work of art and it's an art book. And I would love to have it, but more than that, what I would love to have is a large print of the full card, because, and obviously I probably went already past it. When you look at the full card, you will see that, there you go, it's this one here. Let me just see if I can show you. So this is slightly darker than what I would love, because I would love for it to be slightly brighter in order for me to see the images more clearly, but that's fine. And I'm not talking about the available light, I'm talking about the actual rendition on the card. If you pay attention, so this is a human being that, you know, it's deciding to enter this book-like kind of doors that open up to him, and there is a ray of light that comes through from the outside, so it's showing what this fool is going towards, is going to walk towards. But at the same time, I don't know if you can tell, this is a face and these are hands, you see here, these are hands. And so there is this sense of, on the one hand, almost kind of doom, in the sense that you think about what is this fool going to find behind this door, but at the same time there is the sense of adventure, because it is something that reminds us of the unknown. And I really love this, and I would love to have a large print of this deck. I don't know, maybe it's available, I have absolutely no idea, but I think that that would be absolutely gorgeous on a wall. And this is art, this is absolutely art, and I really don't believe that there should be any argument to the contrary. You may not like it, and it's not a matter of liking it or not, really not. That has got nothing to do with that. I don't like all the artists, it's fine, it's fair enough, but it is recognizable as artistic and a product of art. So I am very curious to see, this is the last deck that I wanted to show you today. I am very curious to see and to hear your opinion in the comments below. As I said at the beginning, please keep it polite, keep it kind, be kind to everyone. But you can say, if you disagree, you can absolutely say it. It's a discussion. That is it for today. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.